You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Natasha Frakes of Empress. If you all recall, I interviewed David Rhodes of Empress last year, and so happy to get an update today on what's happening with the company.
For sure. I'm fairly new to the team. I joined Empress Royalty about 2 months ago. And so that's the most recent update, I would say. I joined as VP Investor Relations to really, increase the awareness of the company. And, we really want to increase our marketing and our presence in the US in particular. Make sure that people know who Empress is and why they should invest.
What's some of your background before getting into Empress? So you all are building a team and everything, and so when Alex, the CEO, adds new team members, it's always good to know where the team experience is and everything. So what was some of your experience before coming to Empress?
Yeah, so I was on the exploration side of the mining industry for about 6 years. I worked with a handful of exploration companies. And prior to that, I worked as a news reporter and news anchor for CTV and CBC in Canada.
Wow. So how did I end up interviewing a former news anchor, you all? Hopefully I do well on this. Go ahead.
You're doing great.
That's good. So you were a news anchor before, so you were in communications and all of that. So how did those skills translate to investor relations? Obviously, you have to communicate with the public, and you have to be able to connect with people in a different way. So what does that look like in your day-to-day job?
For sure. Well, especially as a reporter, I had to become an expert on a new subject every day and figure out a way to take all this information that I was provided from talking to different people who actually were experts and put that into a minute and a half of content that is clear and concise and interesting to the audience. And so now I'm doing the same kind of thing, but rather than becoming an expert on something new every day, I'm just becoming an expert on one story and how to best tell that to investors so that because especially in mining, things can get complicated. The Empress the royalty and streaming model, not everybody really knows about it and how it works, and mining with geology. And so you have to be able to take all that information and put it into a more palatable, easy to digest.
Simplify and you have to do a lot of that for sure.
Yeah.
And so what drew you to gold?
Yeah, so Empress Royalty is actually, we've now done the research and realized that Empress Royalty is the only 100% pure gold and silver publicly traded royalty and streaming company. So for investors that are looking for, that gold and silver exposure, Empress is a great investment vehicle for that, because you get the upside of investing in gold and silver and investing in a mining company, but less risk because you get the diversified portfolio. Our costs are substantially lower. We do all the due diligence into the investing, and so the royalty and streaming model is actually really fantastic in that sense that we also have a chart in our presentation that's worth looking at, because it does a comparison of a royalty index, so an average of some of the biggest royalty companies and how they've performed over the last 15 years in comparison to how gold has performed and how the miners ETF has performed. And the royalty index far outperforms. And
that's actually really quick. So that's actually something that I had a guest on my show, and we were talking about the royalty and streaming companies versus the miners and the ETFs, and we saw even from the mid 2010s how the royalty and streaming companies outperformed the miners, and so I'm glad you mentioned that chart.
Yeah, it is really interesting, because I mean, to be completely transparent, before joining Empress, I didn't know that about the royalty and streaming model. There's only a handful more than a handful. There's about 30 royalty and streaming companies in the mining sector, whereas there's hundreds, if not thousands, of exploration companies. And when you're on the exploration side of things, you kind of get wrapped up in that, and the upside of discovery and all that. But the royalty and streaming model offers something that's kind of in between. It's less speculative than investing in a junior mining company, but more exciting and more upside than investing in a producer, for example.
And a lot less risk, because of you're collecting a check, right? You finance, put the money up, and you collect that check back. So that's always less risk for many people. So some people have concerns about jurisdiction and things like that. So how does Empress approach that particular piece of things where when you find a project that is worth investing in, what are some of the kind of check boxes that you all look at?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate in the sense, and you spoke to our executive chair, David Rhodes, that we have this partnership because David's also managing director of Endeavor Financial. And so Endeavor Financial is one of our biggest shareholders, and we are able to utilize their team for a lot of our due diligence. And then, I was talking earlier about how I joined the team. We also added, Alex hired Nora Pincus. She's a lawyer by trade, and she's our VP of Corporate Development. And when she was a lawyer, she worked for some of the largest mining companies out there. And so with her and then the team at Endeavor, we have David Lang as our technical advisor. He's got a very impressive background in mining. And so we use people who are experts and have been in the industry for a long time to evaluate all of the projects that we look at. We do, Rick Rule talks about due diligence, and due diligence is a huge part of our process. And so, that's one of the things that people, when they're investing in Empress, they can learn to trust, is that we're doing that due diligence for you. We're making sure that we're going to site, we're meeting with the management teams of these mining companies, and we are making sure that this investment is going to be accretive to the company. And that's one of the reasons why we are only investing in mining projects that are either already producing or 6 to 12 months out from production, so that we can immediately get that
return. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We said exactly at the same time. So what new projects or acquisitions is Empress involved in or looking at? What's happening there?
Yeah, so we are only looking at gold and silver. We want to stay true to that. And as I said, only production or near production. Geographically, we're looking all over the place, but mainly South America, Africa, a little bit of Asia. And ticket size of investment is below 25 million. So, some of the smaller, and that's really how Empress came to be, is because our CEO, Alexandra, and our executive chair, David Rhodes, they saw that there was this need in the royalty and streaming space for a company that was investing in these lower ticket size. Because a lot of the big royalty companies like Wheaton, Franco-Nevada, some of them are doing the smaller ticket size now, but when Empress was first created 4 years ago, these companies were only doing 100 million plus investments. And so the mining projects that were just looking for extra 5 million, extra 10 million to either increase production or start production, they were having a hard time getting funding through the royalty and streaming model. And so, that's where Empress kind of came in. And it means that because we're doing this lower ticket size investment and we're looking all over the place, we don't actually have a lot of competition when we're in these negotiations. There's not a lot of other royalty and streaming companies that are trying to get the same deals we are, which is great. But I think, a lot of people don't realize how much time we're spending on looking for new investments. It's one of our biggest goals over the next 3 years. We want to double our portfolio of revenue generating assets. We have 4 right now. We want to make that 8. And so because we can't necessarily talk publicly about all the deals that we're looking at and the negotiations that are ongoing, some people may not realize that we're spending a lot of time on that, because that is what's really going to drive the company's growth. Is growing the portfolio, increasing and increasing that revenue. Because over the next 5 years, we're expecting, on conservative level, using $1,900 gold and $22 silver, we're expecting to bring in US $60 million accumulatively over the next 5 years. And that is with our current portfolio if we do absolutely nothing. But we obviously want to do a lot. We want to grow the company, so we want to keep boosting that up. And so, where we're at right now, our market cap is about 50% of our net asset value. And that's, like I said, that's at 1,900 gold, 22 silver. We're higher than that, so that it's our net asset value, I think, is actually, and our revenue is actually substantially higher than what we're even modeling right now. We just want to be on the conservative side.
For sure.
But so we're really working to drive our growth with that.
So there was last year, I think there was an acquisition that happened in between last year at the symposium and this year. Could you share more about that?
Yeah, so our Galaxy Gold Stream is our latest investment, and so we put $5 million US into that gold stream, and so far, it's been a great investment. They wanted to ramp up production, and so that's how we got to say it. The company's called Golconda Gold. It's publicly traded. That's the latest addition. And
the streaming, when streaming happens, this is like you get the gold that's mined at a specific price, at a price lower than where gold is now. And we actually prefer streams over royalties, because we basically get paid in either gold or silver credits, whatever it is. And so it means that we can buy a percentage of the metal that's produced at a significantly discounted price, usually about an 80% discount of spot price. Wow. So they over here hoarding all the gold, y'all. Just make sure you go check out Empress. So where can people find more about Empress and what's happening there? For sure, follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, go to our website. We also have Instagram, Facebook. So www.empressroyalty.com. You can go to our website. You can also go right into our calendar, set up a meeting with us at a time that works for you. Give us a call, send us an email. We're around. They on IG, y'all. Not a lot of companies here are on IG, so just so you know, they trying to tune in with the youngsters and everything. So thank you for coming on, Natasha. Appreciate you spending time with us today. Thank you so much.